big game playing 500 basketball.
Yeah, I mean, this has to be a disappointing loss to them on the first one on the road trip. Memphis without a couple of their star players, and particularly Morant. And, it was just not a good game for them. Out-hustled a little bit. Stevens, 8 offensive rebounds. I think he kind of manhandled when he needed to. The Lakers turned the ball over, 27 points off of turnovers. Couldn't afford to do that on the road. I think the Grizzlies had something like 15 steals or something of that nature. So, yeah, I mean, Memphis is a good ball club with or without their star players, and I just don't think the Lakers, really made that switch to take care of them early. Played good first couple quarters. Third quarter wasn't bad, but just not a complete game overall. Execution and defense was just not what it should have been on the road.
Fish. Lakers in the second half, only 42 points. And after that first quarter, they're outscoring the rest of the way.
Yeah, it was just, one of those nights where, a team without, their best player, and then, to be honest, their best defender, and Dillon Brooks also being out. It was important to really get some separation early, to really get this young team questioning and doubting whether or not they even belong on the floor tonight. But then once they have the opportunity to still go toe-to-toe with you, the crowd stays in the game. And those guys on the other team, they see that there are more Laker fans in the building than maybe Grizzlies fans tonight. So then their pride starts to kick up, and then the Lakers just could never kind of put them back in the box once they let the Grizzlies out. So disappointing, frustrating, not the way you want to start a road trip, but you must bounce back now against Oklahoma City.
Brett, just 2 nights ago we stood here and showed the schedule, and you had talked about how they do have the hardest schedule in the league from this point on. But these next 5 were games that you wanted to see. We all wanted to see what this Laker team could put together because everyone was feeling good, starting to look a little more healthy. Not the case tonight.
Yeah, I think we need to put a little moratorium on they've turned the corner conversations because you think they have. Like 2 days ago, you're thinking, all right, good win for the Lakers. James, you went viral, rightly so.
Not tonight.
Not tonight, right? But then this happens, and we've been kind of sucked into this narrative a couple times already. Hey, they look good. Have they turned a corner? I'm going to stop talking about that for a while. I want to see the Lakers win 4 or 5 in a row, and then get back to saying, okay, this team looks like a real contender. Dillon Brooks didn't play, as you mentioned. No Morant. That's 41 points of offense on the bench for Memphis tonight. And the Lakers, and this team played last night, too, against Dallas. So it definitely, James, a disappointing loss for the Lakers. And just have to wait and see if they can. When's the next corner that they have supposedly turned?
Biggest story for me that I wrote down just watching this game, James, you had mentioned the steals for Memphis. I took a look down when you said it. It was 18. You actually shortchanged it by 3, which is kind of crazy. Yeah. And that's the biggest story. 22 turnovers for 27 points. As Fish said in the first half, when we were sitting at this very desk, those are all opportunities you're not even getting a shot off.
Yeah. I mean, and to give them that momentum by turning it over without 2 of their star players, that's what they were driven by. The whole season, it seems like the Lakers have been sending out this message that you can beat us. We're good. We're not going to play 4 quarters. We're gonna give you a shot, and then hopefully you roll over. And I think the message in the locker room is starting to get like, if you just keep playing for 4 quarters, the Lakers may just let you back in. So this is not the first time we've seen this. We've seen it with Oklahoma. We've seen it with Memphis before. Sacramento, we saw it. So we want to believe in them, but it's hard to kind of believe that, like tonight, there was a time where I would say, we got this one. But it's hard to say whether you can believe that they're going to do it based on the way that they've been giving up games. You want to believe in them. You want to have hope. You see it in glimpses. But then again, like this game tonight, I was like, man, they're not like Fish said, they're not separating. And this team is their team, well coached, and they got going, and there you go.
Not only was it the 22 turnovers, Fish, but you mentioned a young team, the youngest in the league. Billy was saying it at the end of the broadcast, trending up these last few years. Right now they're, what, 4th in the Western Conference, a couple games ahead of the Lakers now. Offensive rebounds, second chance points, 14. 17 second chance points. Lakers, 1 second chance point.
Yeah, it looks different than the OG, you know, grit and grind Memphis Grizzlies.
It's not that team anymore.
Yeah,
But they're still,
with Zebo and
right, but they're still doing a lot of those things. Like you said, the loose balls, 50-50 baskets, you know, playing with fire, passion, competing hard, a level of physicality with Steven Adams and Jaren Jackson Jr. and Desmond Bane is a strong, powerful guard, like competing. And so that part of the grit and grind DNA is still there. I think Taylor Jenkins has them believing in and still playing good team basketball. They shared the ball well. But for the Lakers, like 22 turnovers on the road is already a bad recipe for success. But against a team that's second in the league in transition points, right? Memphis at around 15.9. If you're turning it over, you have no chance. We played the Thunder in the playoffs in 2010 with Durant and Westbrook and Harden, all those guys, and you were better off throwing it in the stands as a turnover than it being a live ball turnover, because you had no chance of getting back. And we saw a lot of those live ball turnovers. Lakers couldn't get back and keep them from scoring.
You know, Brez, this is Ja Morant's team, and it's no fun for anybody in the NBA if you're a fan when he doesn't play, because he's that exciting. He was on his way to being an all-star this year, so we wish him a speedy recovery. I know he's in the health and safety protocols. He did have the knee injury. But remember, Jaren Jackson Jr. was the first star chosen here. Was that the year before, a couple years before? He had some injuries and battled. He was great tonight. Desmond Bane, they combined for 48 points, 7 threes.
Yeah, Jaren Jackson Jr., towards the end of the second quarter, he had that dunk where he just split the Laker defense. He just went in and just a thunder dunk. That's when you realize, okay, this might not be the Lakers' night. Staff again to a team without it's probably its 2 best scorers. I mean, it's this is a step back for the Lakers. So there's no doubt about it. I would also say a step back for Russ. You know, good game. He's been on a pretty good run the last 2 weeks. Tonight, though, 6 turnovers, made only 3 buckets, 1 for 4 from the free throw line. You know, just kind of back to that inefficient Russ that we saw very early in the season, maybe his first couple weeks with his new team. There's no way to slice it other than Lakers should have won this game. And you talked about the schedule earlier. These next few games are supposed to be an easy part of the schedule. We've talked about this before. And the Lakers just keep failing to conquer these winnable games. Have you seen the schedule yet for the week of Christmas? They start at Chicago, then they play Phoenix here at Staples, and then they play someone else, and then they play Brooklyn here at Staples. So the tough games are right around the corner, and they're gonna be fast and furious when they come.
Well, what we have seen with this team is that every game is tough, right? Except for when they kind of you know separated from Boston and Sacramento when they had that big run. But every game is it's no longer show up and play your game and win. No. At least it hasn't been for 26.
You've allowed that to happen.
Yeah.
By you know. I'm not going to knock them for preseason. Other teams were gelling, getting it together. I think the Lakers had the veterans, and I heard them say that, we're not really interested in preseason. So not that they were behind, but they needed to be developing that chemistry, and it hasn't showed up yet. So now teams are, like I said earlier, they're not all that. Caruso's gone, Kuz's gone, Pope's gone. And they got all these new players, Westbrook, and so Memphis was like, okay, we heard that if you just play hard and keep it close, they're liable to give it up, and that's what they've been doing pretty much all season.
All right, let's get you to the highlights and take you out to